I'm here at Shore Leave 40 with actor Peter Kelamis. Thank you for speaking with me.
Thanks very much for having me.
So tell me, how did this journey into acting start?
Oh gosh, I've always been fascinated specifically with comedy and comedians, and I remember being a kid watching the Carol Burnett show. This is going back a while, but the characters and the comedic situations on that were just incredible and amazing to me. And that was probably my first introduction to realizing that making people laugh can be a good thing and get you good things. And I used to do impressions for my parents and then get them to take me for ice cream. So that's when I knew that hey, this is going to work out, or it could work out not too badly. And then I kind of continued with it. In university, I entered a comedy contest and won $10, and then started going to the local comedy club, and I was headlining. I headlined within a year, and stand-up, and the characters in my stand-up led to commercials, and then commercials led to roles, and that was kind of my trajectory to getting from there to here.
As you had success through your career, did it change your process of how you rehearsed or acted or anything like that?
Not really. I took acting classes along the way, and acting classes are a weird thing. Some people think there's one way to do things. There really isn't. I think you should examine kind of the different styles of acting and find one that works for you, because it's a very personal thing. What works for one person will not work for another person. So I think get all the tools of acting, figure out a system that works for you, and enjoy it.
So now, as you do your work, because you do voice acting too, is there something special about how you approach the process?
For me, I'll know pretty quickly, within a millisecond or two, whether I think I'll be able to do a voice justice, a new voice. Because usually they give you a caricature or a drawing of what the character's going to look like in the description, and I'll read over the description, but I'm more interested in the immediate visual of what the character looks like. I'll get a voice in my head right away. Or if I don't, I'll just say, yeah, that's not for me. Somebody else can do a better job of that. Like, they want a big hulking kind of voice. I can pretend to do that, but that's not me. I don't have that voice. Lots of other people do, and they'll do a better job, so most of the time I won't attempt it. I'll look for the ones that I think I can do.
So I want to ask about the roles you've had, the different costumes and props and sets.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how those elements have affected your acting, if at all, or approach to a role?
It's amazing that how props can screw up your scene. Some of the easiest props, like a spoon or something, can cause hell during a scene sometimes. It's stuff in everyday life you don't think about, but when you have to position it somewhere specific during a scene without looking, and then reach for it without looking, or have it fall at a certain time, these things become monumental problems in simple scenes sometimes. But you just try to make it look natural. As weird and as simplistic as that sounds, it's just, here's a bunch of things you need to hold and handle, and you need that to look natural.
Were there any roles, as far as the design, that really stood out to you, that you recall vividly?
I remember the first day getting on the set of Stargate, and I thought, well, maybe a month down the road they might show me the Stargate. And first day there, it's like, okay, here you go. Well, we're going to walk into this room, and there it was. It was like, oh, shining, angelic singing. It was like, that's it? That's it? It's right there. Like, it was something to see. It was pretty cool.
So when you do the voice acting, how much voice acting work have you done? Or
a tremendous amount.
Okay.
Yeah, a tremendous amount.
So when you're visualizing in your mind what you're doing, are there any sci-fi or fantasy or comic book elements that sort of have inspired visions that you have in your head as you do?
It really depends on the role. And like I say, I guess I'm more visual as to where I'm going to go with the voice. I'll look at a brand new character, and a lot of times they don't know what they really want, but I'll fire something out and hope that it matches up with what your eye sees and what your ear hears.
Do you ever use your own props or such when you do a voice acting role, like to help help you, fiddle with maybe? Or?
Not props, but I'll use relatives and people I've met on the street. And if in everyday life, if I find somebody interesting, I'll log it and use it when I can. Mm-hmm. I imitated my grandmother once for a show called Class of the Titans, mm-hmm. and they needed a 94-year-old, grandmother, mm-hmm. Greek grandmother.
Yeah.
And then when I went in for the audition, I was auditioning for these other parts, and they were like, "Okay, thanks." I said, "Yeah, I want to read for the grandmother." And they're like, "Nah, yeah, okay, that's fine." I said, "No, I'm serious." And they're like, "Okay." And then I just launched into, "Oh, Eddie, what are you doing? You look so tired. Why don't you lay down?" Mm-hmm. And then I got the role.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have a Greek background?
A Greek background, yeah.
So, is there anything in Greek culture that has inspired you or motivated you?
Things like Ed, and Eddy. I mean, my grandparents and all that came from a very small village and had goats and sheep and cows, and so there's an element of Rolf deep in my history, I think, with all the cured meats hanging and the weird recipes and the weird isms that would come out of his mouth. Mm-hmm. So I could relate to Rolf. Okay.
Have you been to Greece?
I have.
And have you found anything there that has maybe changed your mindset in any way?
Well, the young people of Greece aren't as interesting to me as the older ones. I like the older grandparents and people in small villages that have really neat stories, stories to tell. Those are the personalities that kind of entertain me the most.
So you mentioned the Greek grandmother. Did you meet any people that you were like, wow, you're a great character or something?
It happens to me almost every day where I'll meet somebody. I'm a kind of a student of personalities and quirky personas. I look for them all the time, and not even look for them, they're always there. They always meet somebody interesting.
Do you, when you're doing voice acting, do you ever say you have like an older person, do you ever hunch when you're doing the voice, or do you do...
Always. I always jump into a physicality. I don't... And if if actor tells you that they don't, they're lying, because I can hear two different actors on an audio tape and tell you which one is becoming the character physically.
Okay.
You can't help it. You have to.
So, I'm not sure if I asked this already, but sci-fi and fantasy, have you read, is there stuff in there that's inspired your work in that field?
I've always been a sci-fi fan. I remember going to the original Star Wars when I was a kid, and that was it. Lifetime of sci-fi loving after that. I was fascinated by it, completely fascinated by it. And to be able to have worked in a sci-fi series and a number of sci-fi shows is a dream for me. I love when we do blue screen and green screen shoots, pretending that there's something there that isn't. I love that stuff. Yeah. I love it.
So, did you do any of that when you saw Star Wars? Did you do any of the voices? Is there anyone you like doing? Or?
Well, I did Yoda for Star Wars Lego, the Yoda Chronicles, the mini movies. So I was Yoda. So,
but when you were a kid, was there?
Oh yeah. Well, again, growing up, Yoda was one of them. You know? And I think that was the original time that I tried imitating him. And it ended up getting a job out of it. So it worked out pretty good.
Okay, nice. So, was there, when you were young, was there a tech device or superpower you wish you had?
Superpower, flying.
Yeah.
I haven't had one for a while. There's a dream where I can fly, kind of run real fast and then launch. Kind of like very Hulk-like, running real fast and then launching. And, something about flying, I think, would be awesome.
Yeah. So as far as voice acting, what role does voice acting have, in society? What do you bring, what do you think you're imparting to an audience?
I think it's, from an actor's perspective, you can become, I love it because I can become a 94-year-old Greek grandmother or, an East Indian carpenter or, an Asian assassin, all through voice. So you're behind a microphone, and once the animation and the voice comes together, you can become anything and anyone. And then, some people might... I don't like it when people play kind of a race card on it saying, well, if you're not of that ethnicity, you can't do that voice. I'm not really a purveyor of that. I think you can do anything if it sounds that way, as long as what you're saying is insulting. I think that's what makes something racist, when you're insulting the intelligence or the position of the person you're imitating. Just because an East Indian voice sounds like this, I don't find it offensive that I'm doing it, as long as I'm being sensitive to what's coming out of my mouth.
Right. Are you a singer?
I'm not a singer.
Oh, no?
There's auditions sometimes when they say, needs to sing, and I'm like, no. I've had to do it before. Rolf has a whole Christmas song about Yechmayek, the kind of Christmas witch lady that would come through the village, and so I had to sing this whole song, and so I've had to do it a few times, but I avoid the singing. I'm not good at it.
Because I would think a voice actor would the voice control that you would also. No, okay.
No, I mean I can muddle my way through, but I don't have that skill.
Is there a big project you'd love to sink your teeth into that you haven't done yet?
For voice or
whatever.
I know that, who knows, we may only be getting one or two more, but if I could get a role in a Star Wars film, or say a Game of Thrones, I know they're doing a prequel. I would love something like that. Those are shows that I really love.
Okay. And if you had a choice, do you prefer doing animation or video games? Any difference that to that?
I love the animation because I like the voices. I like doing voices. But being on set and the cameras are rolling, and there is quite a bit of pressure on, but you kind of block that all out and do your stuff and connect with the other actors, and you create something that's kind of meaningful and is real. That there's a big sense of accomplishment when you do that.
Okay. So where can people find you on the web?
I have my own website, peterkelamis.com, and it has links to, I have a comedy CD that's out that you can download on iTunes, Spotify, all the regular download sites. There's info on that on the site, but peterkelamis.com is kind of my info hub.
Okay. Any last words?
Other than, we're sitting here at a convention right now, and it's something I really love to do. I like going to cons. Some people don't. Other actors, they get uncomfortable or self-conscious. There's a lot of them that don't enjoy it. I'm the opposite. I love meeting new people and shaking hands and hanging out with fans. I get a big kick out of it.
Do you have another con set up already? Your next one?
I'm going to the UK at the end of August, and there's a possibility I'm doing Dragon Con, but we're waiting for a final word. I hope I do, because it's one of my favorite ones to attend.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you for speaking with me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. One of the best ways in which you can provide feedback for this podcast is to rate me on iTunes. Please give me a good rating if you like this, or feel free to give me a bad rating if you didn't, and I'll use that feedback to hopefully make this a better podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram under Cris Alvarez Sci-Fi, on Facebook under Cris Alvarez WLC, on YouTube under Cris Alvarez WLC, and on Twitter under Cris Alvarez WLC. You can also get more information on my website, crisalvarez.com. Please remember, my name Cris does not have an H, so it's CrisAlvarez.com. Thanks for listening, and keep imagining the future.